Carolyn, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I thought I was joining with video though, and I don't see it.
Well, I'm glad.
Sounds good.
All right, and this is, I don't know if I shared with you, but this is actually going to be on Facebook Live as well.
Oh, okay. Surprise.
Are we ready to admit people?
Go for it, and I will try to get started I'll get started in 2 to 3 minutes. Welcome all, we're going to start in just 2 minutes.
I don't think I've ever been in a group with 12 people and had it perfectly, completely silent. I'm almost kind of like, am I live? Are we good?
I think we're all being really well behaved right now and polite.
Right?
I love groups like this, especially with the morbid jokes. I feel like I'm sitting in everyone's living room. Like, oh, this is great. Where's my coffee?
Cheers.
There we go, Teresa.
Carolyn, are we in good shape?
I think so.
All right, good. So I'm Meghan Florkowski. I'm the director of the WISE Women's Business Center. Thank you for joining. This is a new format for us, and we're going to have some fun with it. So WISE is all about connection. It's making sure that we meet you where you are and that you have the information that you need. So part of that connection is making sure that you are connected with the experts that know what they're doing. And so I want to make sure that you know the faces that are on your screen. So first, I'm going to take a moment to introduce you to our counseling team. You'll see Barb Stone, Caeresa Richardson, and Lacey Roy Cicerella. And Lacey, I still mess up your name, so I'm so sorry.
I've been married for a year. My dad still spells it wrong, so it's totally fine.
So we're really, this powerful team, they're running the show. We are fortunate enough to have Carolyn with us. Carolyn, if you can wave for us. Carolyn is the Deputy Director of the Office of Economic Development for Onondaga County. And we also have Merike with us. And Merike, if you can wave your hand. Merike is the Executive Director of the Downtown Committee. They're here really to offer their perspective. They are in the trenches, working through this every day, helping the community to make sure they are on track and in the know. But they have, well, I shouldn't say but, they have great perspective to share. And so I want to make sure that we give them that time. And I also want to make sure that that everybody that's on, all of the folks that are joining today, that you have the opportunity to ask your questions. That's really what today is all about. It's about discussion, making sure that you have the opportunity to ask those questions. While you're asking those questions, we ask that you take yourself off mute, because when you came in, you probably saw that we had you on mute from the start. So just take yourself off mute and chime right in. Carolyn, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Well, I am Carolyn Evanstein, and I am the Deputy Director of Economic Development for Onondaga County. And our office has been working to attract and retain business to the county. And the interesting thing is the ways that we do it. It involves things like bringing in new people, new companies. It involves propping up and helping our existing businesses as well. Our office also engages in workforce development because that's a major factor when companies are interested in locating in this area. They want to know that the workforce exists that they're going to need to be able to support their business. During the whole COVID-19 pandemic, our office has been instrumental in operating a hotline for Onondaga County, and we work with small businesses to try to answer their questions about the reopening process, the phase process, and that in and of itself has been very interesting.
Thank you, Carolyn. Merike?
Sure. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Merike Treier. I'm the Executive Director of the Downtown Committee of Syracuse. And we have a very specific area that we focus on, but again, in the age of COVID, a lot of the information is relevant to our entire region. So the Downtown Committee, our mission is downtown's revitalization. So all of the programs that we offer speak to that in some fashion. So we have an active economic development team that is constantly staying on top of the different resources that are available, not only for developing properties, but in the age of COVID, what are the resources that are coming out? Who might be eligible to apply for different resources? What are some of those resources targeted on? So our economic development team has been incredibly active during this time. We also do marketing and communications, and so we're promoting downtown for people to live, to work, to visit. So we have very active social media accounts. During COVID, we stepped up our communications, and so everything was kind of shutting down, but we had a number of restaurants that were still open. So twice a week, we were putting out newsletters of what restaurants were open, what were their hours. We worked with the city of Syracuse to pilot some curbside pickup zones in the district for restaurants, but also for retailer, because that was another service that was allowed as we were starting to reopen. Our team also provides security and outdoor maintenance services so people that come into the district have a pleasant experience. But similar to Carolyn, on the downtown level, our goal is to attract and retain businesses for the downtown area. So again, oftentimes being a connecting point to the resource providers with businesses that are interested in staying or moving into our downtown area. One thing that has been, I guess, reassuring about the pandemic is that we are all in this together. We're all going through the exact same experiences. And we were talking a little bit before about how I now truly understand what drinking from a fire hose means. I've always heard that term, but the speed at which information was coming out in the beginning was something where it was like a 48-hour-a-day job just to stay on top of all of the different changes and the programs that were being built to support businesses. So I think we're all, learning the process, finding out answers at the same time. Regionally, I think we've been very strong under the leadership of our Onondaga County Executive, Mayor Walsh, Empire State Development. 3 times a week, we meet with these different agencies to share what we're hearing from businesses, what do businesses need, as well as what are some of the tweaks that may be coming for some of the programmatic changes, just to make sure that collectively all of us are able to blast that information out. So thank you guys again for hosting this session.
Thank you, Merike. That was so well said, and it's evident in all the work that both you and Carolyn are doing in your offices. So I'm gonna hand it over to the counseling team. And I actually have to drop off. so thank you.
Well, what we'd like to do is, for those of you that are just joining, there are 3 of the counselors that are now working with the WISE Center, myself, Caeresa, and Lacey. So what we would like to be able to do is open this up from your perspective as a participant to Carolyn and also Merike as far as questions that you might have for them. So please, just Carolyn, from the WISE Center, I don't know, do you want to just have everybody raise hands, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. Anyone?
Yeah, so hold on. This is Carolyn. I'm the administrative specialist at WISE. There are two Carolyns here today, a rarity. So if anyone has questions, you can unmute yourself and ask the question. You can also submit a question via the chat. Yes, you can. I think that unmuting yourself and just asking is preferred, but if you're unable to do that, you can do it via the chat.
And also, this is Caeresa. Since we are live on Facebook, for those of you who are watching on Facebook, you could leave your questions and comments below in the comment section. We'll catch those and try to respond to them as well. But those of you that are on Zoom, any of you have any questions or need extra clarity on, let's start with the phases. Are those super clear to each of you as to whether or not you can open and whether or not you need anything in place to open?
It's been super unclear. My name is Courtney Chase. I own 2 yoga studios. I own O Yoga in Syracuse, which has 2 locations, and Sky Yoga in Skinny Atlas. And I'm assuming we're under phase 4, but it's been very unclear. I finally have a contact that I've been talking to at the county that said it's just a lot of gray right now. And I think for us, it's just, understanding when we do open as specific a protocols as we can gather. Are our students expected to wear masks when they're practicing yoga? Are the mats expected to be 6 feet apart, or are the people expected to be 6 feet apart? There's just not been a lot of clarity, and I'm aware that most of it probably won't come up until we get closer to phase 4, but any insight we have to be able to prep for that is super helpful.
So one of the comments I'm going to offer, and then I'm going to ask Carolyn from the county to jump in. One of the comments I'll offer, Courtney, and you're probably already doing this as a small business owner, is reaching out to some of the networks in industry. So other yoga studios outside of New York State even, and see what innovative ways that they are, what innovative practices they're using as they reopen as well. But I want to ask Carolyn, since we do have an expert from the county here, Carolyn, maybe would you mind talking through the phase 1 through 4, if as much as you know about them, and maybe some of the sort of protocols that I don't want to say must be in place, but if you know of any must-have protocols that should be in place from each of the phases, that would be helpful. It has been a little gray.
And I think gray is the word to use. Your insights about consulting some of the industry organizations and associations is spot on. That's really one of the things we've been telling people to do. New York State wasn't the first state to get into a reopening phase. So we do have some data and some information as to what other states are doing. And so that's always a good place to start. When it comes down to what is required and what is recommended, for every phase, the information appears on the forward.newyork.gov website. And for every phase, unfortunately, sometimes there's a delay, and it might not, the information about what the requirements are might not come out until just before that particular phase opens. And we do know that has been problematic. It's a matter of trying to produce regulations and guidelines to cut across a wide swath of business areas and specialties. So that's been a problem. However, some of the basics are just that, they're the basics. It doesn't matter whether you're in phase 1 or whether we're in phase 4. Masks are going to be required. The 6 feet of social distancing space will be required. The cleaning between people and disinfecting, that will be required. But when it comes down to actual specifics about each industry, New York State does issue sort of a fact sheet that has a list of mandated things that everyone must do, and then some recommended sort of best practices that if you have the ability to do those other things, you really should do them to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. For us, we rely on those fact sheets. When someone calls, because there are so many different types of industries in New York State and so many different types of callers, we rely on those fact sheets. We immediately pull them up. We take a look to see what is required for each industry. And I have to admit, Courtney, your name is well known in our office because we've been talking about gyms and yoga studios and things like that. Those are the hot button issues right now. Those are the questions that everybody wants answers to. And so we're all anxiously awaiting some guidance from New York State as to exactly what will be required and exactly what phase gyms will be included in and yoga studios. But you know, I wouldn't want you to think that we're not paying attention. We discuss this every single day in this office, and we get so many calls on this particular issue. I would also say that use your training that your industry provides to you. You know, if you're a cosmetologist or an esthetician, basically when you're in school, they teach you a whole lot about disinfection. They teach you a whole lot about ways to keep things clean and to keep people safe. Just think of that ramped up on steroids to battle COVID-19.
Question, Carolyn, might you recommend, because New York State, again, it's, we are all seeing the information as soon as it's posted as far as the guidances that come out. And I know even for downtown, when they announced that outdoor dining was allowed, was a big surprise to all of us that day. So restaurants, right, were scrambling to say, okay, like I'm allowed to do this now. So how do I do it? So everyone, again, as the information comes out, like everyone's finding out at the same time. The New York Forward page that Carolyn had referenced also has safety plan templates. And so that's something too where a lot of major industries have put out reopening plans, like the National Retail Federation had put one out, the New York State Restaurant Association had put one out. So there may be a good reference for you to check there. But those New York Forward templates that are uploaded, those are things you could take a look at just to start kind of framing out for your specific business, because every business differs. These are some of the things that you're going to have to take into account and consider as far as the cleaning protocols about how you may trace people coming in and coming out. So the templates, although not yet specific for your industry, the ones that are up, I do think would be helpful to reference as you start to create your own guide. Because that's one of those items where everybody who does reopen will have to affirm their business, like through Onondaga County receives records of that. They'll have to have a safety plan, not necessarily submitted, but a safety plan on hand for how you plan to operate your business moving forward. So those would be some items that you'd be able to start looking into.
Thank you.
Thanks, Merike and Carolyn. Anyone else have any other questions to start off with? Specific questions for Carolyn and Merike?
I have a question. What if you are maybe a new business owner and you plan to be opening a new business during one of these phases? You'd mentioned, Merike, is that there may be some documentation that needs to be submitted to the county or to the city. Do either of you, Merike or Carolyn, have any insight as to what documents business owners should be aware of that they may need to submit before they can either open a new business or reopen their existing business?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is that affirmation that Merike mentioned, and that's important because you're essentially laying out the guidelines. You're laying out that you understand what the guidelines are and that you're going to do everything to be able to make sure that people are safe. And you're also required to submit sort of an operation plan of how you'll be able to meet those guidelines within your business. It doesn't mean that it has to be something overly difficult or overly long or overly involved. It could just be a basic layout of how you would conduct your cleaning and how you would conduct the operations to keep people safe and at a safe distance. So those are some additional things that in the past, if you were starting this business a year ago, you wouldn't have had that as a requirement.
And just to reinforce what Carolyn was sharing in the group chat, I put the link to those 3 items that Carolyn had mentioned on the New York State page. Again, and the state has been good about, as information comes out, updating that. So when phase 3 opens, you'll see the same guidance and everything placed there. And then the other piece, of advice that I think as we're all learning through this together, people are going to be, I hope, a little bit more, tolerant and understanding of, business owners too have just been put, through a huge change. So it's not like businesses can start up as usual. Everyone's got to kind of phase back into how we operate in our new normal. And also potentially to relieve some pressure from yourselves, even though a business is allowed to reopen on a certain date. If the business itself does not feel like they can operate safely, I think it's something too where don't feel pressure that you need to reopen specifically on that date. Put the policies you need in place for you to feel comfortable operating in a safe environment. So I think that's something too where it's like almost panic mode when things come out. Say, oh, I can open, but like I'm not ready. And so I think giving yourselves the okay to take that breath and put those plans in place and to reoperate and reopen safely for your customers, I think that's something that has been really well received by the community.
Right. Merike, I have a question for you. I wanted to ask, because of the, being the downtown Armory Square and everything going on there in the hub, I mean, what has been the tone of businesses through this and trying to band together? Because I can't wait to get back down. I can't wait to get back down there for the restaurants. And so I'm just wondering, what is the tone of the businesses downtown currently?
I think resilient. I think it is a really good way to kind of classify people's sentiments. And so I think everyone universally, all businesses have been hit really hard, but particularly sole proprietorships or small businesses, because for the office employees, the law firms, the insurance, they may have had remote capabilities before. So they, by and large, were able to transition relatively easily and kind of categorizing, into a remote operation. But for retailers, restaurants, our gyms, our museums, they've not been able to operate. So people have moved to more of an online presence, which, again, I think even considering online options is something good to think about moving forward as far as planning of how you still offer access to your product or your service. In case there is another phase of this. But I think the businesses are looking forward, particularly the restaurants, to being able to reopen to service, but also trying to understand, those are thin margins. So how, how are people going to return? Are people going to feel comfortable coming back and having a meal, or are they going to stay away a little bit longer? So I think the businesses, although they feel resilient and supportive of each other, certainly like the neighborhood businesses, I think there's also, a bit of uncertainty of understanding what is people's tolerance going to be now for going back out in public and interacting, and what are the new rules? So there's a lot of education. Do you wear masks? Do you not wear masks in public? If I wear a mask, is everyone else going to be wearing a mask? So I think overall, collectively, we all need to kind of relearn how we engage with each other in the age of the post-pandemic.
Yeah. My other question is, as things are opening downtown, is there a common place that people can look to see the restaurants, the shops, and just different things that are opening? Especially because, downtown, so many different living areas have now come up, and being able to support all of that. So I was just wondering, is there a common place for people to find out what's open?
Why, yes, there is.
Okay.
That is something that our team does for the downtown area. So we have really active social media. So following us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We're always putting information up there. We have 3 newsletters that go out a week. One goes to business and property owners with guidance on reopening and regulations. But then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a newsletter that goes out also, which lists all of the businesses that are open and operating and what their products are. Just again, to keep that constantly in people's mind of where can they go if they want to go for outdoor dining, what businesses have reopened that maybe weren't open in the past. And then we use that information as resources like Syracuse.com update like outdoor dining options. We'll cross-check that list and make sure that the downtown businesses, if they're not already on there, that we feed that over to the media, just so again, that can be blasted out. So I'll put in the chat an email address. So if you're interested in getting those newsletters, just send us a note and it'll get delivered right to your inbox. But also social media is how we have like the real-time information going up.
The social media would be just Downtown Committee, or what is it?
On Facebook, it is Downtown Syracuse.
Okay.
Twitter is Downtown SYR. And Instagram, my communications person is going to kill me.
It's okay.
Instagram should also be Downtown Syracuse.
Okay. All right. Cool. Great. Because that was like one of my biggest things was, how do I find centralized information to being able to see so that people can really think about starting to go back downtown again?
Yeah, and we have everything also. Our website's downtownsyracuse.com, and so there's a whole section devoted to resources for reopening. And every time we send out a newsletter, we update our website with the current list of businesses that are open.
Cool. Well, great. Thank you so much.
Do we have any questions from anyone hanging out, watching?
Yeah, what about the other 7 people on this call? Courtney, I thought I saw you try to ask a question. Unmute yourself and then mute it again.
But I was just saying thank you for the responses from earlier.
Okay. Anyone else?
One thing that I would add to what Merike mentioned about downtown and reopening a business and trying to find the best way to do that. And, you know, we don't really know what's going to happen next. But I would say that everything can be a learning experience. So if there are ways of taking your business online a little bit more, utilizing social media a little bit more, finding new ways of doing things, now's the time to do it. A lot of people may have gotten comfortable being at home and always ordering out for their food and things like that. So we have to remember that that's kind of a new market for us. You know, not that long ago, we didn't have Uber and we didn't have, you know, Grubhub and DoorDash and all these different services. So now people are sort of embracing some of those. So you want to make sure that whatever your basic business plan is, that it's something that can accommodate if there's ever a reason again where you're unable to service your customers in the usual way, or if your customers just want to access your services in a way that they're more comfortable with. So you always want to make sure that those means are in place.
Carolyn, you brought up a really good point. There's, I'm that annoying one that's always, if the back's against the wall, this is the perfect time to fight your way out and come out even bigger and stronger. That whole iron sharpens iron. It's true though.
True.
So I don't want to diminish the heartache and anguish and all the hurt and pain that COVID has brought. At the same time, there's a lot of opportunities to be learned from this. Mm-hmm. And curious from you or Merike, what opportunities do you guys see that weren't present before?
I think that people are a little more willing to order food from services like Grubhub. I know I was that person that, you know, used them occasionally. Of course, during the whole shutdown and everything, I was ordering a lot more often. I started using Instacart more. I started using services that could bring things to my door just in an effort to keep my household safe. So going forward, I now see where that saved me a lot of time too. I mean, grocery shopping takes a certain amount of time, and some other things take a certain amount of time. We won't mention that cooking takes time too, but but I saw that this really, you know, made it easier for me to do some things that were in my, just to do things that my family needed on a regular basis. And I've grown accustomed to it, quite frankly. So there are some things I'm going to keep doing. I do really miss going out to restaurants. I really do. So I'm looking forward to going out and sitting at a table and interacting with wait staff and all of that. I'm really looking forward to being able to do things like that.
I think to add on to that, the web presence is a big one. So again, I think now is the time to give people permission. Again, if you're not an expert on maybe using social media or using Facebook videos or things like that, you're seeing such a wide variety of quality of videos that are being uploaded. But again, as everyone is learning this together, I think that's something where that's becoming very widely accepted. I had talked to one of our museum operators, and you know, they had been hesitant previously to do videos or tours, you know, pre-COVID online, because they didn't have the right lighting or they couldn't afford really great camera work or things like that. But now you see people using their iPhones and walking through to, you know, continue to engage people with their content or with their product. So I think that's something now where people can feel comfortable starting to learn how to do that, and you're going to continue to get better with it as you get more experience. So that online presence, I think, going forward is key for everyone. And then thinking about reopening, you know, trying to communicate what your customer is going to see. I think a lot of this can be done really inexpensively through social media. You know, so Courtney, you had mentioned the yoga studio. Maybe it's you or a customer walking through and saying, you know, this is when I walk in, I put my mask on, I use hand sanitizer, I sign in. So people know ahead of time what that experience is going to be. And it helps them sort of, you help to eliminate that barrier of the unknown. So again, I think social media and electronic presence is something that is here to stay, and I think can be a really valuable tool for you know, bringing people back that may not necessarily understand how to kind of re-engage and reconnect with you, but also to help spread the word about your business.
And technology isn't just for COVID-19. You know, it's really about keeping your skills up. When it comes to technology, when new technology comes out, embrace it, jump on it, learn it, see how it can work for you, or eliminate it as something that doesn't work for you, but at least be familiar with it and be knowledgeable about it, so that if there is something that you need to employ or you want to employ, you want to be out ahead of everybody else. You don't want to be the last one to learn how to use Zoom. You want to be the first one.
I'm kicking myself personally about my lack of Twitter presence, and if I had learned it back then, I'd be so much further ahead now. Luckily, our comms team can do that.
Absolutely.
I would like to hear what other types of businesses we have on the phone right now. Would some of you mind just telling me who you are and what business you own?
Or use the chat box if that's more comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's call out Susan. You got a big smile. Tell us who you are and what you do.
So my name is Susan. I'm actually part of the new businesses getting started. Not really getting started. My business name is The Passionate Palate. It was supposed to be like a meal prep business where I was making meals and like delivering them for the week for dietary needed people. But that kind of all got put on the back burner. Mostly, even though like several of my family members have said like, oh, this would be a great time to get that going. My real job right now is a teacher of mathematics. And so that became like one of those 48-hour jobs in a day. And so I haven't really had a chance to like even think about my business. So I kind of like just came on here to find out like what was all going on and kind of get informed, because I felt super out of the loop. So I'm not really in business yet, but hopefully.
Susan, do you have any questions of Carolyn or Merike at all?
Whoever it was that asked, like, oh, what about the new business owners? Like, what did they need to do? That was like a question I didn't even realize that I should be asking. And so I definitely know that that's my starting point of like figuring out an affirmation and operation plan and getting that in the works. So when I do get to that point, at least I'll have the right material. So thank you for that information.
Yeah, I even love, Carolyn, you said something about updating your business plan. So even for existing businesses, like I go back to Courtney's question, Courtney O Yoga, your question, and your comments about maybe being in phase 4. But even thinking about, like, as an existing business owner, how do we go back to the drawing board and maybe even update some of our marketing assessments we did, because the consumer habits are going to change, right? Consumers are new now. So how do we sort of evaluate our current and existing customer base, bring them into our reopening process, and maybe even using creative polling on like your stories, on Instagram stories, such a really inexpensive way to do some really good market assessments to figure out, hey, we're thinking about doing this. Are you actually going to wear a mask when you practice? Yes, no. Funny, it's good content, but it's very informative for you to know, do I need to tell people to do this? Are people going to actually do it? You know, and hey, I'm thinking about doing some more online live yoga. Are you actually going to come? Yes, no. Very easy polls. Seems I've seen other people doing that on Instagram and Facebook. It's been getting some really good responses. But I love, Carolyn, your idea of going back to the drawing board, updating your business plan, incorporating things like the safety plan and the operation plan. Like, I see those becoming just a standard part of our business plan templates going forward. Some of the new normal things are not going to go away, unfortunately.
I definitely agree with that. I would also add that prior to my current position, I spent some time writing business plans and helping entrepreneurs to write business plans. And the first thing I tried to impart to people is the fact that a business plan is a living, breathing document. So don't write it and then shove it in a drawer. It should be out, visible. Frequently. When you're going to make a major business decision, you should be able to pull that out, look at it, and see if this new idea fits with your idea of what your business was going to look like, and whether or not it's something you should go forward with. You know, really use it as a tool, and because that's what it is. It's a tool. So I would say everyone, regardless of COVID-19 or anything else, they should be looking at their business plan regularly. And trying to determine if their initial ideas still hold water and still will bear them the kind of fruit that they want from their business. It's a great time, again, to look at technology, see if technology offers some new things that can uplift their business. Or we can't clone ourselves as entrepreneurs, but sometimes technology can almost get us there, you know, by helping us to do tasks that are a little more tedious or whatever. So I would say that people should really look at their business plans and try to figure out what their next steps should be. There are lots and lots of ways of reaching people. If you've got friends who are super creative, you know, now's the time to engage some of those friends to help you with design or to get their opinion about your website. You can engage your customers through lots and lots of different platforms. And you can even come up with better ways of presenting the new normal, because everybody was comfortable with the way things used to be, but now maybe not so much. So how can you explain to a customer that you're going to have to wear a mask in my establishment without them saying, why do you think I'm, you know, going to make you sick? Well, that's when you might want to explain that, well, I have a child at home and my child is at high risk. So, you know, if you just wear this mask for me, it might protect my child. And those types of things might make people a little more receptive to various messages about the safety. Because now there's a real face attached to it.
Yeah, it's being really empathetic and really being able to understand that. Thank you. Thank you.
We have the comments on Facebook. Drew, we're glad you're here and watching. Thank you for that. Glad you're super inspired. But the comment of I'm definitely struggling with where social media fits in, especially fitting in with the future, that can be really difficult, right? So what are you guys here in Syracuse? What are you seeing other states? What patterns do you see? What other businesses are doing? What seems to be a pattern that's working for incorporating social media in an industry that wasn't known for that?
I think social media can be very helpful in allowing companies to engage with their customers, even if they don't have something to sell to them right now. You know, if people were used to coming into your shop and your shop is no longer open because of COVID-19, then it's nice if you can reach out to people and you know, provide some sort of information that they need, something uplifting, something to just keep your business in the forefront of their minds, so that they have something to look forward to, so that you're the first place they want to visit once everything comes back online.
Yeah, I always love to say, because I'd mentioned reevaluating sort of your customers and your consumers. I always love to say one thing that does not change. Customers love that warm and fuzzy, right? If they have connected with your business, they want to hear from you. So certainly as much as you can, explain to them what you're doing, include them in some of the decisions you're making, visually show them that through all of these various tools that we have, and then talk about new ideas that you're thinking of and get their ideas. Customers really love, I'm continuously learning, they love that warm and fuzzy, and I don't think COVID is going to change that. I think also customers are, well, people, we're going through this huge paradigm shift of what together really means. Like, we're all together right now, right? Or you just are not standing right next to me, but I'm near you, you know? So we're having this shift of what together means, and we're creating that warm and fuzzy for our customers every day. So certainly think about that as you are reopening and going through these phases. If you're confused about the phases, share that with your customers, share that frustration, and include them in it, so that you never know what ideas come out of conversation.
That's an amazing point. And I love that you're talking about the warm and fuzzy, because cannot keep myself from shopping at Caeresa's shop. She is the queen of warm and fuzzies. It's like, okay, I will just go there just for the warm and fuzzy feeling, because it's so freaking authentic that it's even not being with her. It's the hug that we're missing. It's the connection, and people want to do business with who they know and who they like. So when you do present yourself with authentic vulnerability, not just throwing out there well, I'll say this because it looks good. No, but when you're actually just doing you, man, does it show, because Caeresa was my best friend before she even knew it.
The feeling is mutual.
We've got a few other comments here. Rachel, you were talking about you were going to launch a personal care product. Would you like to talk about that? Any barriers or obstacles or anything that you need some help on?
Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
I'm usually the person who just listens.
Okay, well.
Speak. I think I've been on a lot of these WebExes through WISE, just kind of learning the layout, since this is a product that I didn't even know it was going to be a product. It was something where somebody noticed, maybe it's a skincare thing. What are you doing? And it was something that I actually had created for myself for like a decade. And so it's all happening kind of quickly. And then we had the screech halt, you know, in terms of rolling anything out. We were supposed to launch at least some trials March 25th, and nothing, you know, we're all stopped. The whole aesthetic industry that was asking these questions and wanted this product, we're just on hold right now. So it was, I love hearing these kinds of conversations, because I'm still in a fledgling state of how do you even do this? You know, what do I need to do? So.
Well, first of all, thank you for being here and thank you for listening. And then we are hoping that you'll be able to take something and from here and be able to help you move forward. Whatever that
lots of links and what have you that I think are going to be really helpful for me to just plug in to the places and resources that I know I can reach out to now. Each time I do one of these, there are more amazing women that I kind of know that don't know that I know now.
Yeah, cool, great.
And also, that brings up the very good point of Caeresa, Barb, and myself are part of the counseling team. So you don't have to be 10 years established business to use one-on-one counseling services either. There are plenty of people who come to us and say, I have an idea. I'm not quite sure how to get it going, if I even should get it going. And we can kind of walk you through and coach and be with you along that step. It doesn't have to be as lonely as it feels. So just to put that bug out there for everyone here and on Facebook, there's always that option.
Yeah, and even you could even think of us as simple as a brainstorming tool. You know, I'm reopening. I'm not sure really what to do. I'm losing my mind in terms of being creative. That's where a business counselor can really help you pull that creativity from you that you have. It's muddled with other things running a business. I wanted to bring back. Someone had a really good comment. I don't feel I'm in business either. I'm an artist of multimedia, one-of-a-kind greeting cards, collage kits, and was teaching kiddo art classes. I have art in a fun fab shop in Rochester, but have working on a website and selling through a site such as Zazzle or Fine Art America. I am debating about putting my work back in a shop in Cortland. I think that's an awesome sort of thought bubble that you shared with us. Thanks to whoever shared that. I wanted to give that to the group and see if you guys have any advice for this person thinking about it sounds like you're thinking about popping up in another brick and mortar, or even if anyone's on the phone thinking about and struggling with the idea of, should I even go into a brick and mortar now? It's so scary. I think that's worth certainly talking about.
And that's kind of a tough question to answer, simply because every market is different, and I think you really have to do the research, do the work to determine whether or not it's a good idea to do a brick and mortar right now. There are some businesses that could do a brick and mortar today, and it would definitely be, the right move for them. And there are others where it might not be. So it really just depends. What we do know about some of the more artistic endeavors, as far as creating works of physical art and things like that, we do know that people can be successful selling those through other venues, whether it's online or even through someone else's store. Maybe instead of opening a store of your own, maybe the answer is to put your items on consignment in someone else's store. Maybe the answer is to develop a network of people who share your artwork on Facebook or something like that. So it just really depends on what it is you're selling, who your target audience is, and where they feel most comfortable in consuming your art.
And one of the other, I think, and that's fantastic advice, depending, some property owners maybe, so if you decide that trying out a brick and mortar is something you might be interested in, there are some property owners, that are willing to do almost like a pop-up. If a space has already been approved for a retail type use, and if it's a smaller scale, we found that sometimes property owners, just to fill some of those storefront spaces, are willing to be more flexible on the rent. So maybe it's, you try it out for a 3 to 6 month period. If it works for you, then you look at what the next steps might be. But if you find out in that kind of test period that, the brick and mortar is not something that necessarily makes sense right now to pursue, you have that flexibility there. You mentioned specifically Cortland. There's an entity called the Cortland County Business Development Corporation, which would probably be a logical entity you may want to connect with in Cortland if you do decide that exploring the potential of bricks and mortar is something you're interested in. But I think, again, the suggestion of kind of like a co-op type of model, or seeing if there's other outlets where you may be able to tag on to a retailer who your product may make sense with their product offerings, I think is a really good way to get some additional exposure.
Anything else? Sarah, I think you had a comment about learning more about restaurant and the opening there. Do you have any questions?
Oops, let me get this. No, I don't have any questions right now. I'm taking like 2 pages of notes.
Okay.
On what we bring back to, we have like once a week meetings with the staff, and we all bring back ideas.
Sarah's from Lacey's, guys.
Yes, I don't know. Hi. I went non-video because I didn't even comb my hair.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm happy you turned it on, because I miss seeing your face when I walk into Lacey's.
Oh, well, thank you. We all miss being there, and it's, before we had to explain to people what tapas are, but now we have to explain what social distancing and masks are. It's just going to be a whole new experience, and Laura's working a lot of things through, but it's still the unknown.
Yeah.
And it's a little scary, I think. But I hope once we open that people come.
Yes.
Even if you come and do, some people are a little reluctant to maybe come inside, but we still might be doing some takeout. So we've just trying to look at everything. So I've already got 2 pages of notes, so thank everybody.
And thank you for being here, Sarah.
Yeah. I try to fill my day with like interesting things since I'm pretty much on almost 100%, quarantine. So
you'll have to keep coming back then, because half the time I'm talking about bears and Nacho the penguin on the Oregon Zoo. Talk about incorporating social media. How many zoos and aquariums have really started showcasing and leading the way with how to incorporate social media? Who would have thought we're now following Nacho the penguin?
I think I love the live zoos more than my little daughter. I'm like, oh my God, look at what that elephant's doing. Coolest thing. So I think we only have 5 more minutes left. So I think it might be a good idea, if you guys are open to it, to just do one quick round robin. And I'd love to just leave a disclaimer. We are going to keep this format going forward, where we will be casting live to Facebook. So certainly please join in we want to have this be an open format, just like it was today. And again, just like Lacey said, our services as individual business counselors are available if that's something you think that you need. Certainly reach out to. So before we close down today's chat, though, I'd love to just do a quick round robin, and let's start with Merike and then Carolyn, and then just go around everyone who's on now. Parting comments.
Well, thank you everybody for the perseverance again. This has been, tough, but again, I think it's in some ways helping to bring our community together more closely in terms of figuring a way through this and the resolve to continue. So for us, if there's, again, we have a lot of resources on our website. If there's ever any questions you have, again, we're happy to help filter those up through any of the agencies. So please feel free to consider us a resource moving forward as well.
Thank you. Carolyn.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for participating today. And I would really like to encourage everyone to, just do your best with the reopening. Try to find what it is that you need to do for your business, and engage with your customers, your clients, and we'll all get through this together. We really will. And I would also say that if you have any further questions or need some additional resources, you can visit us at the Onondaga County Economic Development Office virtually because of social distancing and all of that. And our website is www.ongoved.com. And you'll find all sorts of resources there. If you happen to have a business that will be doing any hiring, please let us know. We maintain a page that lets people know what businesses are hiring. And we've maintained that page throughout the entire coronavirus response. So let us know if you need additional staff. We will try to help you to get the word out.
Carolyn, thank you. And Merike, thank you. One of the things I'm going to do, because I know we'll be wrapping up here at 1, is first of all, thank you for everybody participating. But one of the things that has been going on through this COVID, and as we're coming out of it, there's the PPP and the forgiveness and better understanding what can be forgiven from that loan. So next week in this Power Hour, please join us with regarding the loan forgiveness with Andrea Koretsky. I've been dealing with her with some clients, and she has been a wealth of knowledge. So please come back next week and ask the questions that you might have specifically to you and your business. And she'll be giving a little bit of an overview, but we'll be able to be here to get one-on-one questions answered. So that's what I've got, and I really appreciate everyone being here. This is our first time doing this, and I think I'm gonna, just with Lacey and Caeresa, you don't have to do this alone. That's what we're here for at the WISE Centers. So just reach out, and we'll be there to support you and help you find the answers. And if we don't know it, we'll help you find them.
Thank you, Barb. This is Carolyn from WISE. I want to add one more thing for everyone. We are, and I'm not sure actually, Megan may have mentioned it at the beginning, but I was trying to get this on Facebook. So we are also starting some new programming at the end of next week. So that'll be coming out on our Eventbrite and in our newsletters and on social media. In addition to the WISE Power Hour, we will also be having some emergency resiliency training available as well. So just to watch out for that in your inbox or your social media feed.
All right, well, it's 12:58, and I would like to wish everyone a phenomenal day, and thank you all again for joining. If you enjoyed the session and benefited from it, please let us know. If you have suggestions, please also let us know that as well. We want to continue to be a benefit to each of you. So thank you all for joining today.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
exciting.